Why has Bitcoin and crypto dumped so much? Do you think the bear market is finally here and confirmed? Because if we understand why Bitcoin has dumped this much without even a bounce, then we can probably understand when it will bounce next and when a bull market could return, if there is going to be a bull market. First of all, I still think the odds of a bull market of some sort is still pretty high, probably over 50%. At least we should get a short squeeze way above 100K. 110, 113, 118K, even if it's a bear market, right? So for the folks who are wondering, oh, I didn't get to sell my Bitcoin above 100K, or I didn't get to sell my Bitcoin above 110K, I think there's still every chance to do that. And for the folks who are wondering, there was no altcoin season. I've explained many times, Bitcoin doesn't need to make a new all-time high for there to be an altcoin season. I've shown you guys what happened in 2017 when there was just a dead cat bounce. A dead cat bounce like this in Bitcoin, and altcoins had an altcoin season. That's the 2017 top. 2021 top, double top, but even if we didn't go to double top, altcoins were still performing well. This has been just down, 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 down without any bounce. Now, so far, we're down 36%, right? Today, I'm going to go through and talk about the reasons that the market is coming up, trying to explain this, trying to explain why have we dumped? Why has there been this kind of a dump in Bitcoin, right? So for example, so far we're down 36%. The last pullback, right, with the Trump panic was only down 32%. And then you had the 33%, right? 33%. This final candle was due to the Japanese yen reverse carry trade. Some people say that is the possible cause or a cause coming up, whatever, right? But you know what I noticed about all these crashes before, right? First of all, we're still like 33, 32, 36%, right? It can go lower, but like, what makes this time so different? Why does everyone say, oh, it's bear market? Probably because the end of 4-year cycle happened right here on October 6th. Pablo made a video saying Bitcoin tops today, but I only thought it was a 20% probability at the time. Even now, I think it's probably only 30%, max 40%. There's probably 50, 60, 70% probability we make a new all-time high. Okay, so these 30% kind of drops are pretty common, right? What made this one feel so much worse is because there was no bounce. There was no short squeezes. You had, see this October 11th massive crash. Then you had, right, a bounce up to almost halfway, like over halfway of the drop, right? You have these big short squeezes. You had something like this as well. This one had nothing. That's why it felt so bad. Now, let's have a look, for example, even during Trump, when Trump's tariff crash, this was April, when Trump and China was going head to head like this, right? What happened was you still had this major short squeeze. You still had this major short squeeze. And then by the time we finally bottom around 73K, Pablo called 73K, the bottom was 74K, right? Even when that came, it didn't feel like it was a full crash because he didn't go that much lower than this one, which was 76K. And this one, which was 78K, it went 78, 76, 74K, right? So basically you had these, and this bounce was what? Like 94K, right? 94K, that's like a 25%, 30% bounce, right? And it happened in like 3 or 4 days. So, and even this one, this was the Japanese yen crash, right? By the time it came that day at 49K, let's call it, the previous bottom was 53K. It was only like 4K lower. That's like a 30%, 35% bounce. And it got all the way back up to all-time highs. Look at all these tops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 5 previous tops were at 70K. This one got up to what? 70K as well. So what made this one feel different, even though I'm reminding everyone, even though this is just a 30-something% drop, what made this one feel different is that there has been no short squeeze action like this, right? Like this, like this, like this, like this, like this on the way down. So that's why it felt pretty bad. And so that's why everyone's panicking. But does that necessarily mean that bear market has started? What are the reasons causing this big dump with no rebounds at all? Before we answer that question, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo He-Man use? Pablo uses this exchange that's non-KYC. That means you don't need to show any ID. That means the exchange can't even see who you are. The IRS can't see you. The tax office can't see you. The FBI, CIA, nobody can see you. Total privacy, right? That's why Pablo made this exclusive deal with them, right? Only on Pablo's link right here. It's basically for folks who deposit 20%, right? You get 20% bonus as soon as you deposit. Deposit $100, you get $20 futures bonus. Deposit $500, get $100 futures bonus. Deposit $1,000, you get $200 futures bonus. You get the idea, right? And if you open your first trade, you basically get another $10 to $500 in futures bonus. Okay, limited time only, folks. This finishes on 5th of December. 5th of December. Now, for folks who are watching on YouTube right now, then the link is in the description below. On YouTube, link is in the description below. But if you're watching on any other platform, such as this one, then just click on my profile page, the link tree, whatever you want to call it. It's the first deal that pops up because it's a great deal. Okay, let's get back to the markets, folks. But just remember, this deal is only on the Pablo He-Man link. Only on the Pablo He-Man link. First of all, I think we're going to get a massive short squeeze here, right? Could be as high as this 100K, 102K area. Ultimately, I think we can have some sort of short squeeze up to 116, 100, even 118K area. Ultimately, right? That could take like 2 months from now. And that's saying we don't even have a new all-time high. That's saying Bitcoin topped again exactly on the day. That would be a 4-year cycle. I mean, I didn't pull that date out of nowhere. The whole market knew the 4-year top date would be October 6th. I just made a video on that day saying this could happen. I gave it a 20% probability at the time. Now it looks like, oh, some people think that's 100% what happened, right? So with Bitcoin itself, basically, it would be nice if yesterday we closed around here, like at 86.2. We didn't. We closed around 85.2. So it's not quite a bottoming tail. A classic bottoming tail would be somewhere here or higher. We didn't close there. So I can't exactly call this a bottoming tail yet. I think we're going to have more swings, more retests of this, the wick of the candle. So we could have another dip to 80K or slightly below, like 78, 79, right? And most people, there are a lot of voices out there talking about this bottom, this level here, which is the old high here. See, the old high here was 74K, and the bottom here was, we had 74K top, bounce off 74K, and then people think we could get this 74K. I do think 80K will be retested again, and we could have like a dip to 79, 78K. That could entirely happen. For another dip to 74K, I think because everyone's expecting that, I think it'll get front run. I think the people who have their buy stops at 74K, 73K, 72K, 75K will miss the next bounce. And the next bounce is going to be massive to minimum 102, 103K, minimum. Could go to 116 to 118K, right? And that's not even saying we're not making a new all-time high. That could still happen. But either way, this sets up a very interesting situation as we have it right now. Basically, we could call this something like a head and shoulders, right? Something like this, right? We bounce again off like 80K, 80, 79, 78K. We have one more bounce, right? Like say here, in the next 2 weeks, and up we go. Then it sets up a head and shoulders situation where basically you have the left shoulder here. All of this to 126K was a right shot, was a head, and then bounce up to something like 100K, then 115, 116K, and then come down, right? 82K, it breaks, and then boom, bear market confirmed. That's the scenario I would be looking at, even if folks think we topped on this day. If we didn't top on this day, then we have to beat 126K and then make a higher high. So then we can't call it a shoulder, head, shoulder, right? So That's the scenario. But what are the reasons? What are the reasons why we've been crashing so far? Here's one obvious reason that everyone can talk about is basically Bitcoin spot ETFs. So what are the two or three major drivers of Bitcoin right now? Instantly, like at least 3 or 4 come to mind. But the most obvious one is these ETFs, Wall Street ETFs, right? So you have total Bitcoin spot ETFs. And we can see if they're the ones who have been dumping or not against the Bitcoin prices. Don't worry, I know MicroStrategy and those guys, they have their own problems as well. I'm going to get to that. So I'll get to MicroStrategy next. First, let's have a look at the spot ETFs, because the spot ETFs, like IBIT, which is the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, is now bigger than the MicroStrategy and MetaPlanet and those guys. They're now becoming the largest spot buyers as far as we can see. So this yellow line is Bitcoin price. What can we see here? What we can see is basically that, see, when it tops, there's lots of inflows. There's lots of buying from BlackRock and Franklin Templeton, right? Fidelity. These are the big ETFs. When it tops, there's lots of buying. When Bitcoin tops, lots of buying, lots of green bars, lots of buying. When it tops, lots of green bars. When it tops, lots of green bars. When it topped at 126K, for all the bears out there who thinks Bitcoin has topped, okay, sure. Look at this, 126K, 123K, historical volume, right? When it bottoms, like when it bottomed here, lots of selling. When it bottomed here, lots of selling from the Bitcoin ETFs. When it bottomed here, near bottom, huge selling. And when it bottomed here, April 7th, huge selling. That's thanks to Trump's tariffs. And right now, huge selling as well at 80K. What does this mean? What does this mean? Why are these giant ETFs of BlackRock behaving like retailers, buying lots at the top and panic selling lots at the bottom, right? That's because this is not BlackRock buying. This is not guys inside BlackRock saying we're buying. This is not guys inside Fidelity who are buying. These are retail folks like yourselves out there. Well, not yourselves, because if you're watching my channel, then chances are you're into crypto, and you've probably been into crypto for the last 2 or 3 years. These are folks who are basically don't even know how to buy Bitcoin on an exchange like Bitunix or whoever, and they're basically just buying using these are boomers who have to buy using a BlackRock ETF traded on the NASDAQ. So when BlackRock gets like 5,000 people making buy orders on a day like this, they buy. On a day like this, they buy. And if there's like 3,000, 10,000 of their retail clients who are selling on a day like this, they sell. On a day like this, they sell. So what do we notice about this here? First of all, we can see these are actually retails buying, but aggregated, which means for most people who don't understand English out there, I know my audience is mostly in English-speaking countries, but they don't understand English. Aggregated means you sum it all together, right? So basically, when there's max greed around these places, it tops. When there's mass panic around these places, it actually bottoms, right? So this bar is the biggest sell order from the retails in the last 3 or 4 days since, right, March 2025. And April 7th, it bottomed. So as I've been saying for a while now, I think we bottomed somewhere in late November, early December. Right? We just need a little bit more time, which is backed up by this chart, right? I explained what this chart is yesterday, and this blue line is basically open interest. Open interest is up because everyone's feeling confident, everyone's going long. Boom, it crashes, right? And we have these red bars. Boom, it crashes, we have these red bars, and we get, like 6 to 8 weeks of these red bars. Then basically Bitcoin bottoms and we go for the next leg up, or at least we go for a massive bounce, right? So I've explained all this yesterday already, right? Yes, I thought Bitcoin was going to bottom higher. it has crashed lower without much of a bounce. But if we look at it on a longer term chart, this pullback so far, even to 80K, it's not huge, right? It's a 36% pullback. Bitcoin, okay, let me just show you guys what kind of pullbacks Bitcoin has done in the past. I don't think I need to remind you guys, but you all met me, right, during this crash, right? This was the Bitcoin 55% crash. Went from what, 64K, 64.9, almost 65K, down to what, 28K. When Pablo said it's going to go down to 30K, right? Went down to 30K, went a little bit lower to 28K, right? 32K here was basically 50% drop. So it went like 55%, 57% drop, right? And then still made a new high. Okay, so that was last cycle. And you say, oh yeah, Bitcoin's different now. Yeah, Bitcoin's different now. So then you think it might be a more mature asset with ETF fund flows, right? So you would think the probability of 55% drop would be like here, and then a bounce up to new all-time highs. Those kind of things would happen less. And you would think like, oh, okay, Pablo, but this is a big asset now. Bitcoin's $2 trillion right now. If it makes a 36% drop, like you're saying right now, 36% drop, and then it's bear market, it doesn't recover. I can show you so many examples of why it recovers, right? I'm not saying 100% that Bitcoin will recover. I'm just showing you examples of things that have gone down 50% or so, roughly there, and has gone up. This is the largest stock in the world, Nvidia. It's worth $5 trillion right now. So here it was $3 trillion, and basically $3.5 trillion, right? And basically, I actually called this on social media in my Discord, and I said, look, guys, this is going to this area. I've just changed it from log chart to regular. And basically, look, it is basically, I mapped out the rough path it was going down. I had it at around 95K area. It went down to, gap down to 86, right? As I'll say it again, I've done this before. I've shown this video before, in a previous video a week ago. Went from $152 to $86, which is like a 45% drop. 45% drop. And then made a massive new high. This is a $3.5 trillion asset. It was much bigger than Bitcoin. So it's not like that can't happen, right? It's not like it can't happen. And this set up for a perfect head and shoulders as well. Look at this. You have shoulder, head, shoulder, and it went up. Although this shoulder was lower than this shoulder point, so you probably say that's not actually a proper shoulder. But my point is basically, I can show you the Meta as well, Facebook. There are plenty of things that are bigger than Bitcoin or same size, $2 trillion, right? That have gone into massive drops. What's this drop? 740 down to 480. So that's a pretty sizable drop. That's like 30% something percent as well. Let's do this. That's like probably 36% drop as well. Yeah, 36% drop. That's on Facebook. This has happened recently during the Trump April 7th. Yeah, Trump tariff crash, and basically came right back. Right, came right back. So, but the bigger one is this crash, right? This crash, which was basically, let's do this. Here, 76% crash. This happened in 2002, 76% crash, and then boom, like everyone thought it was all over. Went from what, like $91 to $800 now. That's like That's like almost a 9x run. It's better than Bitcoin. It's outperformed Bitcoin. Okay, thank you for your time, folks. I'll catch up with you next episode.